Okay, I'm at Marico's house on 9 Elwood Road in Westport. Okay, I'm just going to go through a video of everything that we spoke about today, anything else that I see when I'm walking around. All right, so we'll start here in the back of the house. What we're going to do is we're going to remove all these plants back here. This one, all this back here, through here. So this all is coming out, okay? Because we want to be able to see only the nepeta and the roses. The roses all have to be cut back. The dead wood was never cut back this early spring, so that's got to be cut back. Eventually, you're going to have to move the common cypress. That's going to grow. Actually, it's a juniper. You're eventually going to have to remove the juniper. It's going to grow way too big. Okay. Same thing. All the roses get cut back. The nepeta, I think, in here are fine. The irrigation, I believe, from the lawn is spraying into that nepeta, and there's too much water. That's why the plant is turning yellow. Okay, so that's something to point out. Nepeta really like dry feet, so the other option is you could always put in a little French drain in front of the mulch bed here so the water doesn't pool into those plants. That's why they're turning yellow. Okay. The grass, there's not enough sunlight back there in the corner. All right, so in the future you might want to move that. All the concolor firs, white pine, concolor fir, Norway spruce, these are all the conifers that I mentioned to you that need to be cut back consistently, because if you give them too heavy of a haircut, the growth buds don't extend too far back into the tree, and hence if you wait too long, they're going to grow too wide, and you'll have to cut them down because they're going to start taking up all the lawn on your property. So this summer, you're going to need to cut these back. Okay, we have an aerial lift that we can lift ourselves up and cut these trees back. So we're going to give you a separate quote on trimming these evergreens along this side of the property. This way you don't shade the lawn too much and start losing the lawn. All right. The other thing we talked about from an improvement perspective was through here where the gravel is. So there's here, here, there, and there. Okay, take everything up. Those are all carex, C-A-R-E-X. It's a type of a grass. All the carex comes up. You have to add irrigation. So we're gonna have to check. We have to check to see if there's drip line running through here, and then run it underneath the walkway and get the drip line in to these different beds, okay? And then think about something else that we're going to plant in there that's going to stay compact, that can take a lot of sunlight. You get a lot of sunlight on this side of the house for these areas. There's 7 carex over here that I would end up saving. All these would be garbage, but these 7 I would transplant to the front underneath the tree that had the 3 little grasses that didn't get enough sunlight, and these carex do pretty well in the partial sun, partial shade, so those get transplanted to the front. Okay, there's 2 Japanese maples in the property, one here and one over there, and they both been cut like an umbrella, and the idea is we need to let those branches start hanging down, coming down lower to the ground. It's supposed to look like a natural tree with staggered cuts, not a straight line, but staggered cuts, and it should be hanging down way lower to the ground than what it is currently. So that has to be fixed. Okay, these are oak leaf hydrangea, gold thread common cypress, tree hydrangea. Tree hydrangea next February needs to be cut way back, like literally to here. Okay, right about to there. Okay. And then next year it's going to be more compact, a nice tighter plant. Now the problem is it could start flopping over this summer. So that's something to point out. And you can't do it now because you'll lose all the blooms. All right, that's Dutsia. That's fine. Ferns, roses. Now specifically we talked about this knockout rose, letting it grow a little bit taller because we want to see it from the porch and from entertaining the patio. So when we do cut this back in the spring, we're only going to cut it back about 20%. And because eventually we do want it to grow a little bit taller than the boxwood hedge. But obviously the dead growth has to be clipped out of that. Nepeta is fine in here. Dwarf dogwood is fine. Okay. All the hydrangeas have to be cut back. The last year's dead growth. Hosta, you gotta have to spray for deer here because you're gonna get a lot of deer issues. If you don't spray for deer, so that we do that something in-house. Stilby, Lakoth, hemlock trees. You got one here and one in the corner. This gets insect issue. You see that white residue? That's an insect. That's also called hemlock woolly adelgid, and that has to be treated. All right, so we'll give you a quote on treating that. These are all boxwoods, spirea. It's a shady area in here. I told you in the future what you're going to want to do is reconsider what plants are in here. Transplant the 2 spirea and put in perhaps more hydrangea in here. That would look pretty. You could use an arborescens hydrangea, which blooms every single year. These are called mop-head hydrangeas, and you'll notice that last year's branches are dead, so there's a good chance you're not going to get a lot of blooms on it this year. You are going to get some. You see that? That's going to be a bloom. You're going to get some, but not as much as you should. So arborescens hydrangea along this side will block the view of the kind of the bad side of these boxwood, and that'll give you a lot of color, and that's a great idea. So I would consider that. That's just something to point out. So transplant 1, 2, 3, 4 plants and add probably 5 arborescens hydrangea in this area. Okay. Take all the nepeta from the front, which I'll point out later, which is overgrown, and plant it in this area in the back because you get some good sunlight in here. All right, so plant all the nepeta over here. The grass needs to be fixed in the fall. We talked about that. All the inkberry holly is a garbage plant, so eventually you're going to want to rip that out. The cover on this catch basin, that needs to be fixed. Okay, so you're going to consider that. I'm going to recommend a tree company that climbs trees. They can send a climber up there and remove all the dead branches. That's a safety hazard. Okay, so all that, there's a couple on this tree as well. Remove the one dead tree back here and add another burning bush. That's a burning bush. Systemically treat to prevent borers insect for the Jackmonte birch. Check to see if there's any irrigation back here, or maybe what you do is you adjust the sprinkler head to make sure it sprays into the weeping willow, because that weeping willow is going to die unless it gets water. So that's got to happen where the sprinkler head here needs to rotate to hit the weeping willow. There's a chance it still might die. It was planted in the wrong spots underneath in our tree, but it's already there, so you might as well try to preserve it. Okay. Summer project, again, as part of the trimming these trees. Got to trim all these arborvitaes, and what I mean by that is we're going to trim off the tops. So we're going to probably cut it back 3 to 4 feet off the top. That will generate more of a thick growth habit, and the rest of the tree, it kind of takes its energy and pushes it to the rest of the tree. And then we're also going to clip off, start giving a little haircut along the side. So going down, a little haircut so we don't, again, start losing too much lawn. All right, so that's another job. Take out this dogwood tree because it's shading this tree. So you're going to notice, like in 5 years, if you don't cut this down, all these arborvitaes behind it are going to look very sparse like they're starting to now, and all these are going to look dense. So you got to get rid of this so then you have a nice, clean, consistent, dense hedge, all of more of a similar height. So that's really important. So get rid of that tree, then grind the stump so you don't look at the stump. Same thing. Clip, shape and clip the 2 fastigiate hornbeam trees here and there. Shape and clean and clip the cherry tree, and also the one crabapple tree. Crabapple tree, I mentioned you need to spray it 3 times with fungicide. Something you might consider doing yourself, save you some money in the early spring. Okay, I'll send you an internet link for the fungicide you're going to use, and only take you 5 minutes. 3 times early spring, and you'll prevent apple rust disease, which is like this yellow blotch in the leaf. Okay. Need to tie the boxwoods with jute twine before the winter so you don't get these holes in them. And also we can bring some jute twine when we do the first gardening service and tie it so that the branches aren't, like there's not holes in the boxwood, so we can do that and that'll make it look a lot better. Transplant 4 of these little fountain grasses elsewhere you get sun. perhaps somewhere on this side. Okay. Take out the 2 auto-lichen laurels because those get shot blast disease, and they're a high maintenance plant, and they also get a lot of winter damage because it's more of a West Coast plant. It's not really meant for the East Coast. So take out 2 there, and then take out 3 here. So that's 5. Okay. Transplant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. You might want to move these. I'm not sure. You don't have to move these. But there's probably 4 here and roughly about 10 nepeta there that you can move to the back. Then obviously replace with other plants in here. You get pretty good sun in here. So we have a lot of options we can choose from to fill this area. It's roughly 12 feet by 5 feet wide to fill this area. And there's obviously another little gap there. And what you might do is you might put something interesting through here as well. Okay. Now the other thing is whoever did this job, couple issues. The gravel doesn't have an edge. Usually when you're using gravel, you're typically putting in either a steel edge or a Belgian block edge, so it doesn't keep on moving into the lawn. See how this is kind of moving into the lawn? It makes a messy look. All right. That's very time consuming to do that. If you did that, you'd almost have to start obviously down here where the gravel starts, going all the way around and wrapping up here and then going through the front of the house as well. So you could consider that. If you want to keep with the gravel, it's something I recommend, because if not, you're going to keep on getting the grass growing into the gravel, and it just doesn't look right. Okay. Now the other thing you can do is you can pick up all this gravel and probably wash it out, or it might be even cheaper just to buy new gravel. But you want to get all the dirt out of the gravel, clean it up, put down filter fabric, which is a weed barrier, with sod staples to pin the filter fabric down to the ground, and then put the gravel, and then put new gravel. This is called river jack. Put that down on top, and if you have the edging, then it's maintenance free at that point. So you got to consider whether you want to stay with the gravel idea, which is going to involve some work, or you switch it over to mulch. So you got to think about that, okay? The boxwood, you can see it's not trimmed straight, so we're not going to be able to fix that, but we're going to keep on trying to trim it so it's more straight, doesn't look like it's on an angle, okay? When we trim these trees, we shape this tree a little bit. Shape it a little bit. Just shape it, not in a circle. Keep it natural, but shape it a little bit. Okay. Remove the one fountain grass back here. There's not enough sun. Just remove that. Maybe just do that for now. Next year you could always consider relocating these if you wanted to. Okay. Oh, cut back the juniper on this wall. So along the top of this wall, we would cut it right at this part of the wall, all the way down. That's going to leave a little bit of a brown hinge. There's going to be some brown color exposed from the juniper when you do that, but it'll still look better. So just keep on cutting this back every year, right along the edge of the wall, which is here. Okay. Remove lily of the valley, which is this ground cover here. Remove that, lily of the valley. Consider weeding every 2 weeks or weeding once a month. I'm going to give you 2 options. Then obviously you got to replenish the mulch a little bit every year underneath these trees. And you got mulch around the rest of the property. Over here is pretty shady. That's what inkberry holly looks like down the road, just so you know. So that you see that's inkberry holly. Remove the ribbon. There's an orange ribbon. Remove that off. That's Lacoste. That actually is designed for the shade. Cut back all the daffodils, which are these here. Just cut them down to the ground. All these daffodils, cut them right down to the ground because it's not going to flower anymore. Leave the iris. Leave the iris. That's fine. Those are just finished flower, but leave those up. But cut all these daffodils down. Okay. Leave the magnolia tree exactly how it is. That looks fine. Again, cut these daffodils down. Leave the iris. Those are your 2 hemlock trees, which have to be treated to prevent that insect from killing the trees. Not enough sunlight back here for those 2 evergreens to do well. Okay, the spruce and the Colorado blue spruce, that's a Norway and that's Colorado. So those, just so you know, are going to continually look worse because they're planted in the shade and there's not enough sun. Trim these 2 trees back the same time we're trimming these evergreens. So these 2 trees need to be shaved. Same time we're trimming these trees, I'd say you give these a haircut too. These birch trees, these pear trees. All right, just cut them, give them a little shape. There's a lot of bent branches, so that's part of the kind of pruning project. There's 3 of these. Pull the weeds. You see the weeds are going within the Pachysandra? There's like weeds. You got to pull all these weeds out of here. It's like a vine almost. You got to pull those out so it looks clean. There's some on the other side too. Has to be cleaned out. Adjust the irrigation, check the irrigation, fix the lawn. So there's a lot of different little details here, but I tried to do my best job there, just explaining everything. And then eventually you're going to have to remove these 4 inkberry too. Just put in boxwood. That's really the right decision. So that's it. So I'm going to take some more measurements and make a separate video for myself with just measurements. And I appreciate the opportunity. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks.